Go-kart number 3. Let's see if we can make this one move.
This is pretty much the worst video ever made.
Napoleon, like anyone can even know that.
Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Today we're going to be working on the third go-kart that my buddy brought over. Worked on 2 of them. I got the first big 2-seater one. We got it running and driving. Still needs a bunch of work, but I'm leaving that up to my buddy as to how much he wants to put into it. But we did get it running, driving, moving under its own power. Second one we got running, but ran into a lot of things that it needed, so we just kind of stopped there. So 1 win, 1 loss. But we got this third one here. It looks complete. It looks like everything is here, but it does have some immediate issues, so let's get started. It's got some off-brand import engine here. Never heard of this, but you know, they're all pretty much the same. But the first problem that we have here is we have no engagement on the pull starter, so we're going to take that cover off and see if we can get that fixed. And then the second thing I noticed when I brought it into the garage here is that this centrifugal clutch here, well, now it's moving a little bit. All right, that's better. So that thing was locked up pretty good, and it's moving a little bit. So it's turning the engine right now, and it shouldn't be turning the engine. It should just be free spinning. I don't know how well you can see that. There's the outer housing and then the drive shaft of the engine. It was completely turning all the time. At least now it's spinning a little bit freely. So I think what I'm going to do is take that cover off, and we'll blow that out with air and tap it with the hammer a little bit, bust up the corrosion. So I'm going to do both of those things, and I'll see what happens on that. I'll show you if there's anything crazy. Okay, we got the clutch mostly freed up here, but there's something that's providing a lot of drag here. And I don't know, maybe this chain is too tight, but for now, we're just not going to worry about it too much because we don't know what's going on with the engine. And I got this cover off of here, and basically all that was happening was that this little piece here had like some dirt and grime in it, so I lubricated it, cleaned it up and lubricated it. So we'll put that back on, and then we got to check for spark next. I already see we got an issue here. I'm sorry about the light. There you go. We got an issue here with our spark plug wire, so we're gonna figure that out next. All right, here we are. I have threaded that spark plug wire right back in there. It looks like it's gonna hold. Let me get you in the holder here. And get spark. I knew I saw some right before the camera. You see it? Let me turn it a little bit. There you go. Now that being said, I have a feeling that this engine is not going to run. Why do I say that? Well, because the first couple times I pulled this handle before I took the spark plug out, I felt like they had hardly any resistance, no compression. This holder is not doing so well. There you go. Anyway, I stuck my finger in the spark plug hole here and turned it over, and I can't feel any compression. So who knows what we have going on, but I think our next step will be to I don't know, let me think about it. We'll come back. Okay, well, my first thoughts were I'm going to pull this cover off, this cam cover, and see if we can see the valves opening and closing, because sometimes these things sit. This thing was sitting in Idaho in the snow, you know, a lot of moisture there. If it sits with the valve open, the valve could get stuck. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll pull this cam cover off, we'll pull this thing through, and we'll see if we can see the valves opening and closing. There you go, quick and easy, 4 bolts, that thing came off, and see, you can see the exhaust valve open there, and then you see the intake valve acting like it wants to open, but it's not returning. See right there, it's not returning. So that thing is either stuck or it's bent, one of the two. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spray some lubrication around this thing, and then I'm going to try to push it in and out a little bit with a screwdriver or a punch or a hammer handle or a broom handle or something. All right, I sprayed some lube around that thing. Let's see what we can do here. Just try to push it with this punch a little bit first. Yeah, of course, the whole thing is moving. So I'm gonna just give it a little tappy tap here with the hammer. It's going in farther, but it ain't coming out farther. So that's not generally good. Usually if it's just stuck, if you tap it in like that, it'll move in and then it'll come out. So we're gonna spray some more stuff around it and mess around a little bit and see what we can make happen. Okay, oh, there my air conditioner kicked in right now. Along the way here, I learned a few things. Anyway, this is the exhaust valve. You see how nice that one pushes in and out. But I was able to get the spring and the collet off of this one and work it in and out, and it's moving now. But then also when I took this exhaust valve out, or rocker arm off, there's this little top piece on here. It's right there. And that keeps the whole thing in place, and that's missing on here. So where is it? That is a good question. So we can dig around in here a little bit and see if it's in the top end somewhere, but I don't see it. So that means it may have migrated down into the bottom of the engine, and that could be fun, because I don't know. Well, it looks like you could take this whole side off of here, so we could maybe do that. We'll decide. We'll see if this thing has compression now after we have this seated a little bit better. If it has some compression, we'll think about it. I took off the rocker arms here and looked all down in here with the flashlight, and I don't know if that little piece could get in there. It just doesn't seem like the space in there is big enough, but you just never know. Who knows who messed with this thing before me, and I'm sure people say the same thing when they're working on things that I've worked on, like who was this guy doing this? But I just tightened this thing down so it opens and closes now, and we'll just see if this thing pops a little bit. I don't know if it's worth messing around with this engine. Who knows? I mean, chances are that like I said, it's a off-brand kind of thing, so parts availability is probably almost nil. So I'm gonna get us set up and we'll try to see if we can get a little bit of noise out of it, see what happens. I never even tried to run one of these engines with the valve cover off like that, but let's see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't squirt oil all over everything. We got a backfire, that's something. A rope isn't too long for this world if you look at that. Who knows? Well, we heard some noise. I'm over here in the scrap pile now, the boneyard as it were, in my yard. I'm thinking, I wonder. So this was our failed cart from the last time around. It had so much stuff wrong with it. We do have a good running engine. It's got a different clutch on it, but we could see if the shaft size is the same. He said shaft. But I think they're a very similar engine. Very similar, in fact. So much so that I think that Jiangdong, or whatever that one is probably coming out of the same factory that Harbor Freight is making these Predator engines. They look very similar. But I think this is a good candidate right here to make something out of nothing here. We take the engine off of this cart, because the rest of the cart is pretty much garbage, honestly. and put it on that other cart. And look at the carburetor setup. The side panel here looks pretty much the same. It has the same cam cover. It's kind of this angled horizontal engine, not quite horizontal, but that kind of like a little bit of an angle. And I think it might work. Anyway, I think that this engine could run as well, but the rest of this cart is all here. It's good. So let's pull this engine off of here and we'll think about it. I've been a little sidelined with some other projects and of course getting out riding, doing things. So back to the go-kart here. I got the engine off, this beautiful Chinese Honda clone, and we'll get this clutch off. I was worried about this bolt because it's kind of jacked up, but we got it. So we'll get this clutch off of here and we'll pull that other engine off that other cart. I've been busy scraping lots of grease off of here. So you can see this, probably why this engine is kind of a POS. It's making the old Greta Thunberg upset with all the pollution, but that's okay. We'll go on to the Harbor Freight Predator motor on here. I was also worried about the bearings maybe in the axle because it's kind of turns really tight, but I'm pretty sure that's an issue with this brake over here. It really feels like the brake is dragging. I think that this top of the line brake system, this rotor is probably a little bit warped or something, because right there it turns really easy. And then also if I push this back a little bit, it turns easy. So we'll try to do some adjusting. In the meantime, I'll get the other engine off and get it installed on here, and let's see what we got. Well, there she is installed. I got the mounting bolts tightened up, chain adjusted. I got the little cover over here on the clutch. And of course, you know, things weren't exactly the same between these two engines. They're very close, but you know, I was hoping that this mount bolt here was going to work on here, but they're a little bit different thread pitch, and the shaft length is just a little bit different. So I had to mess around making some spacers kind of out of some washers, and the carburetor setup is just a little bit different. But we got it on here. I got it hooked up, and let's see what we can do here. Hold this with one hand. I got it balanced up here because and that was part of our problem here. This engine, it runs okay, but it doesn't run quite right. So it's like as soon as you shut the choke off at idle, it wants to die. So I'm probably gonna have to mess with it a little bit, but I think we have the majority of this thing completed. Let me get it off the stand. There we go. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna try to ride it the way it is. So I'm gonna give that a shot real quick, and then if it works, then I'll show you on the video. This thing is crazy dangerous at this point because it'll barely run with the choke off, and to keep it going you have to give it plenty of throttle. And surprisingly, this thing really scoots, but as soon as you let the throttle off, then it dies, and it's pretty small. In fact, yeah, I should get in it and see if I can get a picture of me getting in it, but this thing is pretty small, so you have to climb out of it, try to start it again, keep it running, reach back, shut the choke off, and give it enough throttle to keep going. And this thing, like I said, it really goes. So I think I need to do some carburetor work on it, and we'll save that for another day. I'm just not feeling it today. It's a little overcast, so we'll set it aside and we'll pull the carburetor off and mess with it on another day. I've been doing what my channel name says. I've been tinkering and adventuring with this thing for a while, and I got the carburetor cleaned up. I took it completely apart, put it in my ultrasonic, cleaned it the best I could. I even Check the valves there, adjusted them just a little bit. And the thing, it starts and it idles, and it runs pretty good, but it seems like if I give it throttle and let off, it dies. But I think for now, it's about as good as it's gonna get. Maybe it just needs to be ridden. So let's do it. Let's ride this thing. Hopefully you'll be able to see me leaving, and I'm gonna do a circle around the car and come back. Yeah, this thing is a small cart, so a big boy in it, it's kind of funny. There it is. Died as soon as I went off throttle. It very well could even be that this old clutch is causing the problem. It's getting worse the more I'm driving it here. So for now, I think we're gonna call it good. It works. Like if I threw a young kid in there, like 10, 11, 12-year-old kid, someone who would fit in it well and really enjoy it, you just have them do circles, and then you may have to just restart it. But until we figure out that little stumble where you go throttle on, off, and it dies, it's no fun for me because it's hard to get in and out of that seat to restart it. So we'll call this one a partial win. We have an operating go-kart. You know, it starts 1 or 2 pulls every time. It'll sit there and idle all day, and who knows, maybe just run it some more. It might get a little bit better. But I'm looking forward to maybe if I get some young kids over here, one of my buddy's kids, will throw them in there and let the kids tear up and have a good time on it. All right, well, if you're enjoying my content, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and if you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.